This is the Laboratory Techniques and Measurements Pre-Lab. Now, this lab has a lot of small parts to it. Nothing is hard, and it's just that it has several small experiments, so it's going to take a little while. What you want to do, if you have time, is to spread it out over a few days. So I recommend either doing the first 3 sets of experiments. So here we go. This would be one part, the first exercise. And then we've got the second one and then the third one. So either do that in one day and then do the 4th and the 5th part on another day. Or what you might want to do is do all of the experiments all in one day and then go back and do all the conversions and calculations on the next day. It can just feel like an awful lot to try to do it all in one day. In the very least, I recommend 2 settings. You can even spread it out over 3 days if you wanted. You could do the first 3 on one, these on the second, and then do all the calculations on the third. So just do whatever works for you once you have time to do, just trying to make it easier on everyone. All right, so we're looking at this materials list. Look at this nice long student supplied list. So I've got some pictures over the side. So you're going to need a key, a CD, a fork, and a spoon. It's okay if you have a plastic fork and spoon. Just make sure that we are aware of that. At the very end, there's a place where you can add that in. And then if you just cannot find a DVD or a CD, something else that works is like one of those really, not the normal size cans, but you know, there's really, really big cans. One of those, if you want to measure just the top part of that, you can. Then you're going to need access to some ice. Not a lot. I mean, honestly, like a Sonic cup is probably fine. And you're going to have a faucet somewhere that's got some warm water for you. And then you're going to need to find pen or pencil. You've got that same key from earlier. And then this particular combination of the coins, which I know is really annoying because we don't actually have the ability to change what it says in this particular part of this chart, or we would, because probably a lot of you don't carry coins as much anymore. But we're letting you know early on, you're going to need these coins. And then you're also going to need distilled water. This is like $1.30 or less. And that's like for the premium brand is $1.30. And then also you need the isopropanol, and it really has to be the 70% because you're going to use it also for the next lab too. Not the next lab, I'm sorry, but one for almost it's the second to the last lab. You're going to actually need to use a decent amount of this. So get it now, then you won't have to get it later, and you'll be good to go. Finally, I just do want to point out that some folks don't recognize, they'll use the term metal bolt and the term magnet. Those are the same thing, and it doesn't even look like a normal magnet. It just looks like a little dark rectangle, like rectangular 3D shape, and that's all it is. Alrighty, so here, and again, you're not doing hard things in this lab. Let me go on and go to the next section. The first part, all you're doing is you're going to use a ruler. So we're going to go back up to the top, and we're going to zoom in on this section here. So I'm going to kind of move past some of the instructions just so you get a feeling for what you're doing, since this has so many parts to it. Basically, what you're going to do is you're going to take your key and you put it with the ruler. There are lots of tips about how to go about measuring with a ruler. There's lots of information in the info section. So definitely go and check that out if you aren't sure how to use a ruler. And then once you get the key measured, make sure that you write down the number to the hundredths place. So, you know, let's say that this was 5.4. Then you put one more. This is your guess digit. And then that would be like centimeters, right? So you're going to measure that one. You're going to put that number in. Then you're going to come over here. You're going to measure this one. Put that number in. And then you're going to come over here. You're going to measure this. You're going to want to turn sideways. Okay, do the long measurement, not the short side. So you measure that one. And then also you're going to measure your fork. I'll put this over here. Okay, so now kind of like one of the earlier labs, I'm going to pull up the data table so you can see what you have to do. Once you have those measurements, let me show you. Oops, I did not mean to push play. So that left column, that's what you just measured. Here's where the math comes in. And every single one of these experiments of the first 3 sets does this. So like you do the math on you do the experiment and it goes in the left column, and then you have a millimeter section. So that means you need to basically multiply it by 10. Don't lose any sig figs. And then also you have a meter section. So as a note, if we were going to make this become a centimeter, a millimeter, I usually tell people go to the base unit. If you're really good at metrics, there's a way around that. And in 1 centimeter, there's 1 times 10 to the minus 2. And then in 1 millimeter, there's 1 times 10 to the minus 3. So your final answer, when you get it, it's going to be 54.1. Didn't need to put that one in there. All right, so notice how this has 1, 2, 3 sig figs, and this has 1, 2, 3 sig figs. That's what we're saying. Don't lose sig figs when you're doing it. But this is also why I was like, you might just want to do all the experiments in one day and then come back and do these kind of conversions, these metric conversions the next day. But that's that section. That's basically that's exercise 1. Notice that you're going to need to put a picture of the key and the ruler. All of your, there's more. In a minute, you're going to put some stuff on the scale, and those are what you're going to get your pictures of. So that's exercise 1, and that goes through part 1 through step 5. Then we're going to do part 2. These are temperature measurements. So I'm going to zoom over here. So here's your setup. Notice the aluminum pie plate is on the bottom, and then you've got your heater, and then you've got your beaker. This object right here, this is one of those aluminum things, but you're going to actually use it to put out your flame. All right, and then basically what you're going to do is you're going to measure the temperature of just your water coming out of your faucet, just whatever that temperature is. And then you're going to measure the temperature of ice water. So you have like ice water. And you're also going to measure the temperature of, if you put your faucet, if you heat this up, you're going to do your faucet too. You're going to do your faucet. And then you're going to heat that up, and you're going to get it so it's nice and hot. And then you'll have your temperature of it when it's boiling. So let me pull up that section here again. So right here, here's our data table. So notice we have hot from the tap, boiling for 5 minutes, cold from the tap, and then ice water. That's all this first column. So there's 6 different temperatures you're going to measure the water being at. I don't really recommend going from the ice all the way to the hot water. They have it in a certain order, so make sure you follow the order that they've got. And then notice the conversions. You got to convert all of those to Fahrenheit, all those to Kelvin. Note, this thing, if you get it from your thermometer is going to let you write down your number to the 10th position. So you need to be writing down 25.0 degrees Celsius. And if you can't get the degree sign to come up, that's okay. But it would be nice for you to include the unit. And there's some notes in there about maintaining sig figs when you convert to Fahrenheit and also when you convert to Kelvin. So make sure that you watch that. Next part. Then we have our mass, and so we're using our scale. So you're going to measure the mass of a pin. You're going to write that number down, and remember, let's say that it's 5.25 grams. Your scale gives you to that position. Don't lose anything. So like when you convert that to some other unit, you still need to have 3 sig figs when you convert it. Then you're going to measure your key. This is the key from earlier that you got the length on. Then you're going to measure your 5 pennies, your 3 quarters, and your 4 dimes. There's some pictures to take in this section, so make sure you're paying attention to what pictures you need to take. Almost any time you put something on the scale, you're going to need your pictures. All right, so that's only halfway through, but notice with this one, just like with the other one, you have to convert this into kilograms. You got to convert it into something else. Little note, what you're putting on your scale is actually what goes in the middle column of this chart. The left column is estimated mass. Do not stress about that. Just estimate. Just be like 10, 5, 3. That column has no point value. But put something in. All right, so now we're on to the next section. Volume and density. And you are not going to do exercise 3. So the end of this section is where you're done with this. So do not make more work for yourself and go on and do the other section unless you just really want to do it, just for your own fun. So info section here. And I'm going to kind of just summarize what we're doing on these steps also. So you've got your distilled water, and make sure that you have that big jug of it. You're going to be using it in other labs. So make sure you've got it. And then your isopropanol. So you're going to take this, and now I can't remember the exact amount. I feel like it's 5 mils, but let me double check how much you're going to put in the graduate cylinder. Yeah, it's 5 mils. All right. So you're going to take your graduated cylinder, and I'm going to move this. Remember, this is to the hundredths. And that one, when you use it, it's going to be the tenths. So you're going to get this. You're going to get the mass of it dry. Once you've done that, you're going to get some water. You're going to tilt it in. And it wants you to do it to 5 mils. So 5 mils. All right, and then once you have the 5 mils, you're going to put the whole thing back on the scale. So now you'll be able to tell how much the water measures in there on the scale. And then you're also going to actually read the measurement, which should say 5 mils. So you're going to have a mass of the water, and you're going to have a volume of the water. And so you can get the density as mass over volume. Then you're going to dry that out really well, and you're going to get your isopropanol, and you're going to put 5 mils of isopropanol in. It's going to fill it up to the same amount. And again, you're going to put that on the scale so that you know the mass of the isopropanol. You already know the mass of the graduated cylinder from earlier, so mass, isopropanol. And then again, you're going to actually just read it. Volume of the isopropanol, and you'll be able to get the density of it also. Now, why do we have this in this section? It's because when you go to pour something that is being poured into a narrow container, it's really hard to get it right. So I would recommend trying to pour until like maybe the 4 milliliter mark, and then just pour a little bit of it into a beaker, and then use your dropper to drop it in so that it actually lines up and gives you the right reading, because you do want to get it somewhere close to the right reading. So just use the dropper to get you up to the 5 milliliter mark. And that's for both of those. So that's one section. And then the final section here, woohoo, is that you are going to use this metal bolt piece here. And you're going to figure out its density 2 ways. So one way is you're going to measure the long side. And then you're also going to measure one of the short sides, and then I can't quite get it to come up right, but imagine I turn it one more time, you'll get the other short side. So if you're getting these numbers from somewhere, I sometimes I see this and it's really odd. Like sometimes I'll get that someone's long side is 3 millimeters, and then they'll get like the short side might be 1 centimeter, and then they'll say that the other short side is 3 centimeters. But that doesn't make sense because there's obviously one long side and 2 short sides. So you need a number that's small 2 times, and then a number that's big another time. Also, this goes to the hundredths, so you wouldn't put 3, you'd put 3.00, 1.00, 3.00, even though it shouldn't be the 3. But I'm just giving you an idea. So you're actually measuring it, and length times length times length is going to give you the volume in that case. Then you're going to grab it, and you're going to put it on the scale. And then you'll have its mass. And then the other method of figuring out volume, trying to get them back together there, is, this is two ways, so you should check and see how good they are, is if you already have some water in here, some distilled water, what happens when you put a little piece of anything in distilled water or in any kind of water? It's going to make the water go up. So I'm going to grab this thing again. So this time, when I drop that in there, I'm going to do it carefully, but when it goes in there, that water level is going to go up to a new part. I'll change it so it's a different color. So here's your initial water level, here's your final water level, and the difference is going to be the volume of the object. All right, so there's a lot of little tips and tricks. There's several, especially at the end, there's several math suggestions and reminders about, using density, using some of the equations in here. And then you've got the follow-up questions that's going to help you make sure that you've gotten everything correct. So like I said, this is the longest lab, so you shouldn't have anything that's this long in the future. There's two more that are longer labs, but this is definitely the long one.